Your favorite fantasy football minds back on the set of this show we do called Testosterone Sports. We thank you for joining us. This next segment, we are going to break down another developing situation throughout the NFL offseason that definitely has fantasy implications, Jeff. We talk about it on our show during the season all the time. Terrell Owens, we jokingly refer to it as the T.O. coaster because his career goes up and down and there's all these twists and turns.
San Francisco to Philadelphia, down to Dallas, around in a loop to Buffalo.
You never know what's going to happen, and for whatever reason, when I close my eyes at night, I try to picture it. It just doesn't seem right to me, but Terrell Owens is going to be a Buffalo Bill this season, Jeff. What does that mean for this franchise? And more importantly, what does it mean for Terrell Owens?
Well, I really do think it's great for the Bills. I know that T.O. has a kind of an enigmatic personality. He can be very, very difficult to work with. He's really fun to watch on the field, and he provides for the Bills that top flight presence that gives them the ability to really stretch the field. Now, in my opinion, their wide receiving core is top notch, one of the best in the NFL. I've always been a fan of Lee Evans. He's got great skills. He's great at stretching the field. He's just always been hampered by having to deal with a double team. Not many receivers can beat the double team in the NFL.
Right.
Ask Steve Smith. Lee Evans is really similar to Steve Smith, kind of smaller stature, extremely fast, strong, great hands. Well, now he's not going to have to deal with the double team anymore until T.O. either gets suspended or cut or sent home or something of that nature. But I think it's great for this team. And I want to tell all the fantasy players out there that I do a lot of mock drafts, about one per day, and Trent Edwards is going as like the 15th overall quarterback. Right now, he just makes a fantastic sleeper right there. And as the guy who brought you Phillip Rivers last year, I'm bringing you Trent Edwards right now. He's going to be money for you. They open the season against the Patriots, and you know T.O. can't wait to get his thing on against Randy Moss.
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic. And
get your popcorn ready.
It's going to be the Monday Nighter, the early Monday Nighter. The NFL loves to give us 2 Monday Nighters in week 1. That game's going to be fantastic. It will be interesting to see what the Bills do. They're going to be without Marshawn Lynch. We found out that he has been suspended for the first 3 games of the season. But for me, this is a really interesting spot with T.O. there. His career is really at a strange juncture right now because he just got a 1-year deal from this club, so he has to be on his best behavior. But Buffalo, I've been through there, and it's not a bright lights, big city kind of town. It's more out of the way. It's up by the Canadian border. It's cold outside. There is a little bit of worry from my perspective that late in the season, if the Bills aren't in the playoff hunt, if they aren't a front-running team, that T.O. might have a tendency to catch a nagging injury or not play as well in the cold. So if he does get off to a hot start, he might be a nice player to move in mid-season. But I do agree with Jeff that I think it was a nice move for the Bills organization, and it shows that they are a little bit desperate to make a climb up in the standings. But another thing we have to talk about here, Jeff, is the implications for the team T.O. left, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, well, this means a big deal for Tony Romo. Now Romo's going to have to shoulder a lot more of the pressure. His ability, or sometimes lack thereof, to get through his progressions. He likes to lock on to tight end Jason Witten. And I do like Jason Witten. I think he's going to have a great season, but I'm curious to see how Romo's going to handle this. Roy Williams, the wide receiver they traded for last year, they gave their first-round pick for him from Detroit. And so Roy Williams is going to have to step into that #1 role again. He's got great skills, but there's always been some kind of it seems like a misfire mentally for him. You know, he doesn't ever seem to take that step forward into elite wide receiver status that he should be, being a top flight talent in the NFL. So I'm curious to see how it goes. One thing I do think is that the Cowboys will lean more heavily on the rushing attack.
Let's not forget that Roy Williams languished in Detroit for the first 5 years of his career, and I think that does have a lot to do with it. This guy 2 years ago, when he played a full season and stayed healthy back in 2006, I believe, Jeff, he caught 7 touchdowns on a team that only won 3 games and went for about 1,300 yards that year. I think those type of numbers are well within Roy's striking distance. He might even bump that touchdown total up to 8 or 9, maybe even approach 10 as the go-to member in a nice offense here in Dallas. But the bottom line for me is he doesn't run like 81 does. He's not going to have the playmaking ability that Owens has. So I do think the Dallas offense loses a little bit of luster. But one player to keep an eye on here, he's been pursued by the Jets this offseason. They've now backed away. Miles Austin is a player you want to keep your eye on.
Agreed.
He's going to be starting across the field from Roy Williams in all likelihood, as the team will keep Patrick Creighton in the slot. Miles Austin could be a sleeper for fantasy owners this fall.
I really like Miles Austin as well. Definitely keep an eye on him. You can get him very, very late in drafts. He's going a lot of times undrafted. I have one question for you, Jesse. Do you want to put money on my over-under for how many teams T.O. will finish his career with? I'm saying it's 6. He's at 4 right now. He's only 35 years old.
He's only at 4 right now.
Another 2 teams, and that's kind of where I'm setting the over/under.
Well, if he keeps sleeping in that hyperbaric chamber with Michael Jackson, he might last another 5-6 years. So, but we've got one more segment coming right up. Stay right here on TestosteroneSports.com. We're enjoying ourselves. We know you're enjoying yourself too. We've got more information coming up.